welcome to our e-learning daily practice mathematics. Nelson Wanyama is my name. Wanel polling is the hashtag you can get from our YouTube page. This is our second lesson of daily practice e-learning, and we are continuing with application of distance, speed, and time. Briefly about the question, we shall be handling application part of it on these questions. And today's logic is about a to and fro journey. A to and fro journey is believed to be having the same distance going and coming back. Because the question comes and it's very silent about the route and the means of transport. So people know, we all know that a to and fro journey, the distance is the same. You just double it or multiply by 2. But this is a unique logic. It is a to and fro journey, but using different means of transport. If you travel from here to Masaka using a taxi, meaning you're using the road, and you come back from Masaka to Kampala, from Kampala to Masaka using a taxi, and from Masaka to Kampala use a Bombardier. Trust me, the distance will be different. And that's the logic you look at. To the question now. Let's read the question and we understand it. The question says, Nakato traveled from Kampala using a modern bus, which was moving at a steady speed of 120 kilometers per hour for 4 hours and 30 minutes to Nairobi. After having lunch in Nairobi for 1.5 hours, she traveled back using an Airbus, which was moving 4 times faster than the modern bus. She reached Kampala 9 times much earlier than she spent on the way to Nairobi. Calculate the average speed for the whole journey. Second time, as you read the question again and we understand it. The question says, Nakato traveled from Kampala using a modern bus, which was moving at a steady speed of 120 kilometers per hour for 4 hours and 30 minutes to Nairobi. After having lunch for 1.5 hours, she traveled back using an Airbus, which was moving 4 times faster than the modern bus. She reached Kampala 9 times much earlier than she spent on the way to Nairobi. Calculate the average speed for the whole journey. Kick off the question now. Step number 1 is to understand that this is a to and fro journey, but using different means of transport. Therefore, we don't expect distance to be the same. The distance will be different. So we begin by first of all calculating the distance covered by the modern bus. That is from Kampala. Step number 1, we begin by getting the distance covered by the modern bus. That is a to journey. That is from Kampala to Nairobi. From Kampala to Nairobi. We are going to get the distance from Kampala to Nairobi. And how do we get it? We need the speed. What is the speed? the speed is here. In the question they're saying, Nakato traveled from Kampala using a modern bus which was moving at a steady speed of 120 kilometers per hour. So the speed is 120 kilometers per hour. What is our time? For 4 hours and 30 minutes to Nairobi. Now, these 4 hours and 30 minutes, we need to change the 30 minutes into hours. Having known that 1 hour is equal to 60 minutes. Therefore, we shall have the 4 hours, but the 30 minutes must be changed to hours. And we shall get the 30 divided by 60. Meaning, when you get 30 out of 60, you have converted 30 minutes into hours. So this will be in hours. We shall have this 0 with this by 3 once, by 3 twice. Meaning our time is equal to 4.5 hours. That's the time spent traveling from Kampala to Nairobi. We can now therefore get the distance, which is equal to speed times time. What is our speed? Our speed is 120 times now the time 4.5, and this will be kilometers. We carry out an operation. We shall have 120 times, change this to a proper fraction, change 4.5 to a proper fraction, and how do we change it? We multiply this 2 times 4, then we add 1, which gives us 9 out of 2. Meaning we have denominator times whole number plus numerator out of denominator, which gives us 9 out of 2. Straight away, we reduce by 2 here once, by 260. And when you have 60, you have to multiply it with this 9. And this will therefore give us 540 kilometers. What is 540 kilometers? It's the distance from Kampala to Nairobi using a modern bus. This is road transport. After reaching Nairobi, what happened? The question says, after having lunch in Nairobi for 1.5 hours. What does that mean? She rested in Nairobi. Of course, she was having lunch. So we need the resting time. So we call this resting time. Resting time. And the resting time is 1.5 hours. You need the resting time because it will be part of the total time taken when we are calculating the average speed. After resting or having lunch for 1.5 hours, she traveled back using an Airbus, which was moving 4 times faster than the modern bus. That means she was now traveling back to Kampala, and that is Nairobi to Kampala. That is Nairobi to Kampala. What is our speed? Because we need to get the distance also by the Airbus. The speed, they are telling us that she traveled back using an Airbus which was moving 4 times faster than the modern bus. That's where we get our speed. The speed of the Airbus was 4 times the one of the modern bus, which was 120. And this gives us kilometers per hour. So the speed for the Airbus, when you multiply 4 times 120, you get 480 This is kilometers per hour. That's the speed. But what is the time? The time spent on the way from Nairobi now to Kampala, back to Kampala, they are telling us that she reached Kampala 9 times much earlier than she spent on the way to Nairobi. From that statement, she reached Kampala 9 times much earlier than she spent on the way to Nairobi. That's where we get our time. That from Kampala to Nairobi, she spent 4.5 hours. Coming back, if she reached 9 times much earlier, that means we shall get the time spent on the way from Kampala to Nairobi divided by 9. And this will give us the time spent from Nairobi back to Kampala. When we divide this, change this into a fraction, which will be 9 out of 2, divide by 9 out of 1, which is in hours. We reciprocate this and we have 9 out of 2 times 1 out of 9. We are reciprocating the fraction after the division sign. By changing to multiplication, and the denominator 1 becomes the numerator, and the numerator 9 becomes the denominator. So here we shall divide by 9 ones by 9 ones. Our time now, is giving us a half an hour. Now, a half an hour is the time spent coming back. 480 kilometers per hour was the speed of the Airbus. We can therefore get the distance. And what is the distance? Distance is speed times time. The speed which we already have times the time which we have already got a half. And this will be kilometers. Can divide by 2 once, by 2 here, 240. And we therefore get 240 kilometers. 240 kilometers is the distance covered while using the Airbus. 540 kilometers is the distance covered using a modern bus. This is road transport and this is air transport. It is a to and fro journey, but the distance are not the same because the means of transport are different. This one is much longer, the one of the modern bus or road transport, because of the meandering on the road. With an aeroplane, there are no meandering. If they are there, they are few. They are limited compared to the road transport. So we have now got our distance. The question requires us to get the average speed for the whole journey. And now we go head on for average speed. Average speed for the whole journey. Average speed is got by total distance covered out of total time taken. The question is, what is the total distance covered? The total distance covered, we shall have 540 kilometers, that is Kampala to Nairobi. So we have 540 plus, from Kampala to Nairobi is 540 kilometers. Then coming back, Nairobi back to Kampala. The distance is 240 kilometers. Out of the total time taken, the first time was 4.5 hours. So we have 4.5 plus resting time. She had lunch for 1.5 hours. when you're resting, time is being taken. That's why we're talking about total time taken. So the 1.5 plus the time spent coming back using an Airbus, which is a half an hour. So add a half an hour. An average speed, of course, this will be kilometers per hour. Therefore, when you add this, you will get 780. We shall divide by, use a division sign because these are fractions now. When you add 4 plus 1, you get 5. A half plus a half is 1, which is 6. Now 6.5. So divide by 6.5. And this gives us kilometers per hour. We now get 780 divide by, change this to proper fraction, which gives us 13 out of 2. This is kilometers per hour. So we get 780. Now we reciprocate the fraction after the division sign. By so doing, we shall change this division sign to multiplication, and 13, which is the 2, which is the denominator, becomes the numerator, and 13, which is the numerator, becomes the denominator. That's reciprocating the fraction after the division sign. So we shall divide by 13 here once, by 13 here. 13 divided by 78 is 6. Then there's a 0.60. Of course, this will be kilometers per hour. Meaning, we shall multiply 60 times 2, which gives us 120 kilometers per hour as the average speed for the whole journey. For the whole journey. A brief description of what we have done now. 1, just a recap. We got the distance from Kampala to Nairobi by using the speed, which is 120 kilometers per hour. The time is 4.5 hours. And using the speed and this time, we got the distance between Kampala and Nairobi using the modern bus. This is road transport. After getting the distance from Kampala to Nairobi on road transport, they told us Nakato had lunch in Nairobi for 1.5 hours, which was the resting time. Then after that, she came back to Kampala, meaning it was a to and fro journey, but using different means of transport. As we focus on the question here, on what we did, just as a recap, we got the speed of the Airbus from Nairobi to Kampala. Where did we get it? From the question they said, the Airbus was moving 4 times faster than the modern bus, meaning it is 4 times the speed of the modern bus, giving us 480 kilometers per hour. We needed the time. And the time they told us that Nakato reached 9 times much earlier than she spent when she was going to Nairobi. So that means we get the time she spent when she was going to Nairobi, which is 4.5, divided by 9. And when we did that, we got half an hour. That means back to Kampala from Nairobi, she only spent half an hour in an Airbus. It therefore helps us to get the distance Nairobi to Kampala, from Nairobi to Kampala, which we got speed times time, and it is 240 kilometers. Having got that, we are now ready to get our average speed for the whole journey, which we said is total distance covered out of total time taken. And the total distance, we have the distance going and the distance coming back. They are different because the means of transport are also different. Road transport has a lot of meandering compared to air transport. That's why it is shorter. Then this is the Total time taken, the 4.5 hours, which is here. 1.5 hours, which is resting, and half an hour coming back. So this gives us 780 as to distance divided by 6.5 as to time taken. When we carry out that operation where we had to change 6.5 from a mixed fraction to an improper fraction, which is now 13 out of 2, and we can continue the operation, which gave us, we reciprocated the fraction after the division sign, and we have 2 out of 13. When we divided here once, here 60. So we multiplied 60 times 2, and we got 120 kilometers per hour as the average speed for the whole journey. Yes, the question is here, like we have given you time to look at it. The other question is now, someone would ask, yes, Nelson, how do you get that work? I must say big thanks to Mr. Mbayo Michael, Mandela, and Mr. Mrere Sam for the good work you have done to come up with this, producing this work. Some are doing the coverage, others the writing and preparation of this material. A big thanks to you, but you can get this work. You go to your YouTube page, put in Wanel polling, you will see the first lesson, and now this is the second lesson, a continuation of application of distance, speed and time. Like the page, subscribe, and give us your feedback. We are happy to serve you in this crisis of a pandemic where every one of us is looking unto God, because we are supposed to maintain social distancing. We are in a lockdown. As we are in a lockdown, lock yourself in your living room, in your smartphone, and give your candidate a chance to learn the application of this work. We shall be posting another video after getting your feedback. Thank you so much. I hope you have enjoyed. Stay tuned.